is called utopia. Repeat after me. Utopia.
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 Utopia is known as a perfect world. A perfect world where everyone is safe, everyone is happy, everyone has what they want. Do you think a world like this exists anywhere in the world?
No.
No, that's why it exists in people's imaginations. When you think about utopia, every person has a different idea about what that should be, because every person has different values and different beliefs that they think would make the most important part of utopia or a perfect world. In just a minute, you will be creating your own utopias or your own perfect worlds to have you start thinking about what values are most important to you. Think back to Among the Hidden. In Among the Hidden, people tried to create a utopia. There was a huge war. This is set in the future. There was a huge war. The world as we know it died because people eventually burned each other's crops down, and there was a huge famine, and no one had enough to eat. So then the government created this whole new world where they were like, okay, fine, we want everyone to have enough to eat all the time. So we're going to create this 2-child limit. You cannot have a third child. What value was most important to this government? And thinking about why they made that law, they were trying to create a perfect world. The 2-child rule. Sandra. And what specifically did they want to help people in? Yes. So having food was a huge value for them. That was their idea of a perfect world. But as we know, it got really messed up. And when perfect worlds get messed up, we call it dystopia. Repeat after me.
Dystopia.
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 Beautiful. Notice you have it spelled a little differently, but you hear the prefix dis. What does dis usually mean, everyone? Not. So not a utopia. It's the opposite. It's a world that people have tried to make perfect, but ends up being really, really messed up. Usually this world exists in the future sometime when the world as we know it has been ruined by like a war or a disease or something else, and a new world is grown in its place where people try and make it perfect, try and fix the world, and it ends up being super messed up for a group of people or all people. Sometimes that happens because the government is corrupt, as you will see in many of your books. So it almost always happens in the future when authors write about dystopia. Really quick to check that you understand. Go ahead and turn to your partner. Tell them please distinguish utopia from dystopia. With your partner. Alright, bring it back. 3, 2, 1. Does anyone else not have a partner besides yourself? Okay, whenever you do partner besides one, you just turn around and talk. Oh, okay, when we do partner stuff, you'll run behind the mic. I'm not sure. But, okay, questions about either of those two terms? Awesome, get them in your head. Next term, you probably know this one because you studied all the time with pegs and world cultures, but society is a community that is ruled by the same leader. It can mean a city, state, it can mean a country, it can mean our strived prep society, a group of people that are ruled by the same governing system. And then whenever we have society, we also sometimes have to think about corruption, which is when a government uses its power in a negative way that hurts the society it governs. When a government has power and uses it in a negative way, that can mean doing things in secret without telling anybody. Like in Among the Hidden, can anyone think of an example when the government used its power in a negative way or did something they weren't supposed to because they had the power? Evangelina.
At the pet, I think it was the rally, the government shot like all of the shadow children.
Right? They shot and killed like 100 kids. That's kind of messed up, right? So they used their power in a way that was really, really destructive. What about, do you remember how they talked, at one point Luke talked about how a lot of government officials actually had their children, but no one got in trouble for it? Why was that?
Because they were like the government and they thought they could do what they wanted. Other people who were under them so they could have their children.
That's also corruption. It's the government not following the same rules as the rest of society just because they have the power and they can. All right, questions about any of these terms and definitions? According to your perspective, before we start reading about other perfect world or messed up world and other characters' ideas of what a perfect world should be, I want to hear from you. So what you're going to do is you're going to either write or draw, filling that square, what you think a perfect world should look like in the box below. When you're doing that, I want you to think about the following things. What values or beliefs are most important in this world? And how do you get there? What laws do you need to pass or not pass? What do you need to do in order to get there? What is the setting like? If you're really worried about nature, maybe you take away all the city buildings and it's only nature. But then how do you make sure no one builds city? What does the technology look like? What is the society like? Are people grouped specifically? Do people live with families? Do people live by themselves? Do all kids live in one place and all adults live in another place? What does your perfect world, your utopia, look like? Again, you can write or draw. If you draw, please use captions to explain what's going on.